Och, hello there, and how you doing? And welcome to another thrilling edition of the massive internet super hit, YESTERDAVE. You've seen the movie posters, you've listened to the soundtrack on the radio, and now you're here to witness it yourself with your own ocular spheres. What a treat. Now, what's today's YESTERDAVE all about? Well, we're about to take a lovely trip back in time to 1993, a year where most of you weren't even a shiny pre-cum splash on the end of your dad's ding-dong.
So come on, let's talk about the utter enduring brilliance of, and I poo you not, my absolute most beloved video game of all time, Super Mario Kart, and why, to me, it is still the most special Mario Kart in the entire series, particularly when compared to its clunky, catastrophic caveman cavalcade cousin, Mario Kart 64.
Now that I've got your blood boiling with such a deliberately vitriolic comment, let's grab a mushroom and I'll see you at the starting line.
Back in the late 80s and early 90s, my only experience with games consoles were hand-me-downs from my Gen X cousin, which, in retrospect, was a pretty cool pedigree to begin my games-playing foray with. But there was just something not right. All the kids in school were talking about the joys of the Green Hill Zone in Sonic, or the wanderings of the depressed, purple-clad moomins of Lemmings, and all I could talk about was my weekend playing Square that shoots the other Square on the Atari 2600. Admittedly, Dig Dug became one of my favorite retro games, but Centipede, Tennis, which is actually better than it looks here, and Shite Donkey Kong didn't quite inspire. Then one day, I took a trip to another relative's house, and the most amazing glow shone from the living room TV, like in the movie Poltergeist. It called me with its big skeletal finger, moaning over and over, "Tiny Dave, check out this really cool shit. Come Dave, check it out." I sat down for the first time to experience the breathtaking magic of Super Mario All-Stars for the Super Nintendo and its older brother, Super Mario World. I became obsessed. I was 100% that kid.
You know, the one that said he really, really wanted to come and visit you, but as soon as he got in the door, it was like,
"David, do you know want to come say hello?"
Huh? What? And of course, when my parents got me a Super Nintendo for Christmas in 1993, they never heard from me again. God, I was such a little turd. Dave, shut up! Talk about Mario Kart. I am this close to unsubscribing. Wait, hold on a minute. Trust me, I'm getting to it, but I'm trying to give you the proper context for it first.
You see, as much as I religiously played Super Mario All-Stars, I feel like Super Mario World pipped it to the post in terms of greatness, that little bit more. Instead of bleepy bloops and squares shooting squares, here was an entire world that I could practically live in. What a gorgeous view it must be up on the peak of Yoshi's Island. Oh, I could fall asleep listening to the twinkling of gems and crystals in Vanilla Dome. What a big fat piece of shit I could be on Chocolate Island. The world was cohesive in a way that made me feel like, level to level, I was truly going on an epic adventure. I would revisit levels just to hang in them. Donut Land 1 almost felt like a sort of major metropolis of Koopas.
Koopopolis?
With enemies coming at you from every corner, whether it was Super Koopas flying at your big fat plumber head, volcano plants spewing cindery seeds of pain that would probably really hurt your balls, or American football men called Chuck that did all sorts of weird stuff. Every secret area, every dip into a beautifully shiny icy cave, or a trip to the stars felt like a genuine new discovery. I could taste the icy cold water when I got in it. I could hear the drips of moisture fall from the icicles. Finding secrets in this game made me feel like a pioneer. I lived in this world. I was insatiably hungry for more Mario. But this was a very different time to today.
My kid, much like I was back in the day, is utterly besotted by Mario. And in turn, he owns all of the Mario stuff that I could only dream of as a kid.
Fully 3D renderings of Mario items such as mushrooms and Koopa shells, every type of Mario plushie and playset you can think of, all the books in the world.
Frankly, the little kid inside me is utterly jealous.
I'd fuck all compared to this.
Shut up.
The only media outside of the games for me to check out when I was a kid were the Super Mario Brothers cartoons, which weren't exactly known for being accurate.
I'm pretty sure there wasn't a world in the Mushroom Kingdom called Rapland, where everyone raps.
We're the Flat Boys, hidey ho, this Koopa dude got to go. Well, let's get snapping and stop Koopa's rapping.
Aside from that awful business, all I could do in the early 90s was like glue some paper shoes and eyes to a toy bowling ball and pretend it's a bob-omb. Or if I was really desperate, draw some eyes on a banana. There you go, just like Mario Kart.
Alright, see, we're getting back to Super Mario Kart now. I told you.
You see, this was long before fully realized, detailed 3D worlds and environments that allowed you to get up close and personal with everything you came across were a thing. Super Mario World, like most 3D platformers, always felt like you were watching Mario from a distance, like he's 50 feet away from you as you watch from behind a hedge like some sort of dirty little mushroom pervert. All I need to add are binoculars to this image, and I bet you feel like a right little creeper. Ooh, a real naughty little toad. You love it, really, you dirty bugger.
But then, Super Mario Kart came along.
I was absolutely gobsmacked. Here, for the very first time, was the world of Super Mario World realized in pseudo 3D. No longer was the notion of wandering through these special places confined to my imagination. I could finally drive through Donut Land and see the gophers whizzing past me. Oh, I could get up close and personal with the piranha plants in Chocolate Land. Long before Super Mario 64, this was an insight into what the Mario universe could look like in a sort of pseudo third dimension. Aside from the awful cartoons that I was desperately clinging to, the character selection screen was maybe the first time Nintendo heads got a proper full 360 glimpse of their favorite Mario characters, even if some of them looked like they had a bit of a problem. Meh.
People may forget now, particularly with how huge the Mario Kart franchise has become, but when Super Mario Kart came out, it was a hit game. It was the sort of thing you talk to other kids in the playground about, and even invited over for a spot of two-player action.
And oh my god, was this game hilarious in two-player. I would play this with friends for hours, and to this day, there is something about the limited 2D character animation and Super NES limitations that lends so much more to the absurdity of what you're looking at.
Let me give you another favorite of mine as an example.
NBA Jam, where the limited animation sequence for where you're shoved over has a hilarity to it that can never be matched by any fantastically rendered, motion captured modern recreation. The short number of frames used means that the frame of the player on their back compensates for the majority of the fall, making them almost float in an inhuman and extremely undignified manner. Super Mario Kart has this kind of thing in spades, from players getting knocked off the side of Ghost Valley courtesy of a well-placed shell, or just watching someone immediately dip into the water of Donut Land with barely a single frame to spare. And so, for much of the early to mid-90s, this was the game of choice. I wrote down my scores in a book. I kept a careful measure on my time trial runs.
Kinda sad, really.
I really put my back into winning that 150cc Special Cup, for if I did, I was absolutely sure that the 200cc mode would greet me on the title screen, and that it probably went all the way up to 1000cc.
So given the hours put in and my absolute obsession with this game, you can only imagine the excitement when they finally revealed a fully 3D brand new Mario Kart for their shiny new hardware, the Nintendo Ultra 64, as I first discovered in this old copy of the official Nintendo magazine back in the day.
Holy poo! Now I don't have to use my imagination! Fully realized 3D Mushroom Kingdom! Now I could truly explore the hills and dales of Super Mario World's lands as if I was truly there. On paper, it's so hard to describe just how much of a leap this was, not just in technology, but for our mind's eye. It would be my dream made manifest. Finally, the ability to explore the worlds of my favorite games in all dimensions.
So when I finally got my hands on a console years later, how did I feel? Well,
I'm not gonna lie, it felt sluggish, like it was much slower than the previous game. It felt wobbly, a little janky, and crucially, it wasn't what I wanted.
What do you mean, Dave? Didn't you get your 3D Mario Kart? Well, it's about more than that. And I think this is kind of a lesson and tightrope walk that all of us need to learn eventually. That's me and you, the video games players, and also the developers.
When I was excited about Mario Kart 64, I suppose I wasn't looking for a brand new gaming experience. I was looking for more of everything I loved about Super Mario Kart, but more. And realistically, that was never gonna happen. I wanted to see Super Mario World's Dinosaur Land in full 3D. I was languishing in a sort of childhood nostalgia, which is pretty surreal because I was still a kid. For some absurd reason, I demanded cohesion in my Mario universe. I wanted the set maps of the Mushroom Kingdom and Dinosaur Land canonized by previous Mario games followed to an absolute T. I wanted to see these map screens brought to life. After all, that's kinda how it felt with Super Mario Kart. Donut Land, the course was obviously set here, while Chocolate Land's course was obviously set here. I expected Dinosaur Land to be brought further to life. Why? Retroactively, I'm not sure. But remember, this was a time when there was still some cohesion to the Mario universe. Most of the mainline games were set in the Mushroom Kingdom, Super Mario World in Dinosaur Land, Super Mario Land in, China? And Super Mario Land 2 set in some creepy island where Mario owns a castle and just happens to have a giant statue of himself that you climb into.
Okay, maybe I'm defeating my own point by including the last two, but hear me out.
Where did Toad's Turnpike, Moo Moo Farm, and Calamari Desert fit into all this?
Where the fuck is Moo Moo Farm in this map, Nintendo? Tell me! You're destroying my headcanon!
Of course, realistically, why would Nintendo use their fancy new 3D hardware just to glow up these old Super Nintendo games when they could build such fantastical worlds as they did, with moving trains, giant egg mazes, and gorgeous neon galaxy vistas?
It's called a road, it's called a rainbow road. It is a road that you go.
After all, they had the entire world to impress, not some shacked up spud locking himself away in his attic bedroom like the mad wife in Jane Eyre.
Although I doubt she played a whole lot of Earthworm Jim.
General sentiment in this day and age is that Super Mario Kart is now the worst of the lot.
A novelty, consigned to the bottom rung of a ladder where I stand at the very bottom and everyone else is waggling about at the very top, waiting for the brand new Wii U, Switch 2 installment, which, ironically, truly looks like the open-ended exploration of the Mario universe that I always yearned for.
However, the Mario universe has expanded monumentally since my childhood. Now we occupy multiverses made of dessert.
That's dessert, not desert.
Beautiful galaxies made of space debris with jaw-dropping set pieces. Absurd woodland, woodworking factory combinations that look like Jair Bolsonaro's Amazon wet dream. And that's just the main series. The Mario Kart series has taken us everywhere. To Princess Daisy's yacht, Waluigi's exhilarating pinball nightmare thing, San Francisco, and ironically, beautiful, fully 3D rendered, faithful renditions of those old Super Mario Kart tracks. So, in a way, in the end, I did get what I wanted, and so much more.
So why do I keep coming back to Super Mario Kart after all these years? Well, maybe it's a little nostalgia, maybe it's the music, the familiarity.
Sometimes it's just nice to turn on a game that you know you can blast through in 10 minutes and just figuratively roll your eyes back, letting lizard brain take over and allowing your frontal cortex to relax a little for once as your muscle memory runs through the motions, leaving you a little hypnotic and ultimately feeling better afterwards. In a time where we can play all these brilliant new Mario Karts with millions of players all over the world, it's nice to retreat back into a place that belongs almost exclusively to you and your television. Almost like returning back to your untouched childhood bedroom.
When I meet up with my oldest friends, we still pull out a copy of Super Mario Kart, and we laugh our arses off as though we were still 9 years old. And that's why it's so special to me.
It's a very personal game for me, and in a way, you had to be there. Not just there in 1993, but in my room with me and my buddies, laughing our absolute dicks off.
Preferably not if you were a grown man. I'd have had to call the police. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little trip back in time with me. In all, it was an early lesson in that previously mentioned tightrope walk of expectation.
It's very easy to expect more of the same, especially something we love so dearly and we've spent so much time with. Then when we don't get exactly that, it's easy to get frustrated and trash something when really, perhaps the new experience shines wonderfully in its own way.
Anyway, good segue. I'm going to go back to playing the massively brilliant Doom the Dark Ages. It might actually be my favorite of the new Dooms, but that's for another time. Anyway, get out of here.
Mario plushies? That's a lot, right? And my favorite video game is Mario, but I have others like Sonic, Kirby, Zelda, Roblox, Minecraft Dungeons. There's a lot more.